Hey, Leela students, this is Mrs. Love. Some of you may know me. I taught at Leela for a couple years, might have even have some of you in sixth grade English. So I'm here to share a little bit about the country of Kenya, which is in East Africa. I know you guys are learning about Africa and African colonization even. So I'll share a little bit about my experience in Kenya and some things I learned about Kenyan culture and colonization of Kenya. So I spent some time in Kenya. You can see a picture of Kenya here. It is an eastern side of the continent, and it even borders the Indian Ocean as well. And during my time there, I lived in the capital city of Nairobi. It's the largest city. There's a lot of modern influences in Nairobi as well, and it's probably just about the most diverse city in the country as well. When I was there, I was teaching at a school. It was an international school. So just like Leela focuses on broadening our students' horizons on the world, the school that I taught at, West Nairobi School, had a same vision as well. About half of our students were Kenyan, and the other half were students from all over the world who wanted to get an education in English as well while they were living in Nairobi. Some of them were originally from Asia or America or even South America, but were living in Kenya. Maybe their parents had moved there to start a business or to help with a nonprofit, things like that. So we had students from all over the world. I think when I was there, about 23 different countries. So it was pretty cool to be from all over the world, but all still be in a place where we could learn a little bit more about Kenyan culture together. I taught at the elementary level when I was there. And here's a cute little picture. You can see I did get a chance to go on safaris and interact with some of the wildlife there. But I will say I do now have a love-hate relationship with monkeys. They can be really cute, but also very sneaky. So one of the things I learned about when I was in Kenya was that there are actually lots of people and cultures that can all be found in Kenya. When I was probably your age and I thought about Africa, I think I was very naive and ignorant of a lot of the cultures that can be found in Africa. I thought, okay, possibly they all live in huts. They probably eat things that to me would seem very strange. But what I came to find out is that a lot of the people and cultures that live in Kenya, while there obviously are some differences, there are a lot of beautiful ways in which we can see great characteristics that come from different cultures as well. And not all people in Kenya live in huts. And there's great food and wonderful things to learn about in those cultures as well. The country of Kenya, for example, has 47 different tribal groups or communities, and each one of them are unique and hold special customs or there's special things to learn about those tribes as well. The national languages in Kenya are Kiswahili, otherwise known as Swahili, and English. But that being said, there's also 69 different tribal languages. Even though a lot of people in Kenya may not live in a specific tribal village somewhere, they do have that cultural heritage of a tribe. And there's often languages that are passed down through generations. And so many of my friends in Kenya, while they would speak English to me and might even speak Kiswahili in Nairobi in the city center and things like that, many of them in their homes would also have a tribal language, or when they go visit their grandparents, they would speak that tribal language as well. So a lot of Kenyans that I had met were at least bilingual. Another interesting thing is that it was a former British colony. You may have already learned about this as well, but because it was colonized by the British, you can see a lot of British influence in Kenya still today. A lot of Kenyans still take tea midday, much like other British colonies. And it's the largest economy in East and Central Africa. A lot of exports, and because it's right along the Indian Ocean, it's great for shipping things all over the world. So there's a huge shipping port in the city of Mombasa. And then tea and coffee are probably some of its biggest exports. I'm a big coffee drinker and I love Kenyan coffee. Being located right along the equator and also many parts of Kenya being high in altitude, it's great soil and great place to grow tea and coffee. Knowing that it was colonized by the British, it was colonized in the 1920s. And you can see it on this little map right here. Um, Being along the equator and along the Indian Ocean, it was right along good trade routes for the British. It was really a prime location for the British to say, ooh, if we colonize this area, it will allow us to have trade routes where we can take things from inland Africa and ship them out to different places in Asia. We know India isn't too far. So it was really a prime place for the British to colonize. And it was colonized for the British for quite some time. And in 1952, they did start to see a little bit of a revolt coming out from Kenyans, especially in the Kikuyu tribe, who didn't want the British really having so much control in Kenya. And so there was the Mau Mau Revolution in 1952. But the British were not so quick to give up control. And as many as 80,000 of the Kikuyu tribe were held in detention camps to try to stop them from revolting. But eventually in 1963, so about 43 years worth of British colonization after that, Kenya was declared an independent nation. So we talked a little bit about some of the reasons why the British would want to colonize Kenya. There was great farming land and great access to even inland Africa, where we know there are rich soil, rich minerals, and lots of things that could easily be exported. So the British did build a lot of railroad into Kenya and all the way to the coastline. That way they could take those goods and send them out through a good trade port at Mombasa. So I'm thinking about Kenya today. There are some challenges that Kenyans do face today. Two of those main challenges would be poverty and education. Um, Life in Kenya looks very different than life in America, especially during a pandemic these days. So when I was in Kenya, which was now quite a few years ago, it was about 6 or 7 years ago, there was already a stark difference between how some of the city centers were able to live as compared to some of the slums on the outside of the city. There's a lot of lack of infrastructure, not good access to things that we take for granted in America, like good roads, and then good plumbing and sewage systems. And because of that, there's a lot of sickness that comes with it. These are some pictures I had taken in a slum, a large slum outside of Nairobi called Kibera. And so, because of that, a lot of the slums grow larger because people are unable to get out of those cycles of poverty as well. And then education. Opportunities for education in Kenya look very different than here in America. After grade 8, a lot of Kenyans have to take an exam, and only those who score high enough on the exam are able to continue on into high school. So a lot of students after grade 8 don't get an opportunity to continue their education. And so that's something we in America, could be considered a blessing, being able to have a K through 12 education that can be offered free through public education. And you can see, obviously, this is one example of a school, but that schoolroom looks very different than the schoolrooms you're used to sitting in at Leela, or even the homes that you're able to learn through now, especially during a pandemic. Right now, a lot of students living in some of the rural or places in Kenya or in the slums don't have access to things like internet. So they can't learn like we are these days, even in a virtual setting. Um, but there's also many accomplishments that we can see through Kenyan culture today. Kenya is really leading the world in wildlife conservation, really trying to learn how to protect some of the endangered species that are on our planet, specifically with elephants. And in the past 2 years, even, we've seen some amazing accomplishments by Kenyan athletes as well, setting record times for completing marathons. So lots of cool things about Kenya as well. I encourage you to continue to do your own research and be willing to learn more about cultures that are different from ours. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I have a MyLila email address. It's just rlove@mylila.org. But I hope you guys have a great time learning more about Africa and about colonization, and continue to always learn more about the world around you.